I have with me right now Larry Liston, who is running for the state legislature. Larry is a former state legislator. I'm having a difficult time this morning. Legislator. And you're running right now against Janik Joshi. And I wanted to lay this out a little bit. So as we've often done, we've done with county commission races and several other races, we've reached out to candidates and tried to give the voters sort of a candidate forum, if you will, between the various candidates. And we reached out to Larry Liston and to Janik Joshi. Janik Joshi decided not to come on the show, and I do want to quickly read why that is. Ashley reached out to Janik Joshi, State Representative Janik Joshi, on this issue and invited him to come onto the show, as she did with Larry Liston. The response came back from his, campaign manager, John Hotelling. For those of you who don't know who John Hotelling is, he was Doug Lamborn's campaign manager in 2006. He was part, I know he won't agree with this, but he knows that he was part of the smear effort to say that I supported same-sex marriage. To those of you who've been fans of this show for a long time, you know what a ridiculous statement that was. But that's the kind of person he is, quite honestly. And so he responded back to Ashley and said, Dr. Joshi will not be doing your show because Jeff Crank is actually a Larry Liston supporter. Now, I have not endorsed Larry Liston up until this point. And he said if Mr. Crank would like to discuss this or any other matter with me, he may call me at 303 in this number. So I responded back to Janik Joshi and I said, here's what Mr. Hotelling said. Love to have you come on the show if you'd like to. And his response was, at this time I won't, but thank you for the offer. So he's not here. He doesn't get the airtime, but he was offered the airtime. Larry Liston joins me. Larry, thanks for being here.
Hey, Jeff, I'm really glad to be here, and I'll come back if you'll have me back anytime. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate that. So let me ask you this. Why are you running? I mean, there's a lot of people who would say, well, we got an incumbent, and he's voting right, and all of that. I've heard that argument before, by the way. I don't necessarily buy it, but tell me why you're running.
Well, I'll tell you exactly why I'm running. Jeff, last year, I've really, and over the years, over the many months, but particularly last year, I've had a number of constituents and community leaders that came to me and said, Larry, you ought to consider running again because you were a good, effective, accountable, accessible legislator. You were a competent legislator, which I was. I actually got things done. And the part of the theme of that is that they had not heard or there was no outreach from our current representative. A lot of people said, Larry, I don't even know who our representative is. In fact, people would come up to me and say, Larry, how are things in the legislature these days? And I go, well, I've been term limited. I've been out of office now for three and a half years. And they'd get this quizzical look. Really? I thought you were my state representative. And I'm serious. I can't make this up. And so a lot of people really encouraged me to run again because I have solutions and ideas and accomplishments. And so I started kind of really feeling the pulse last fall, talking to more and more people, and I got a lot of positive feedback and encouragement. So I know the district, I know the issues, I know the people, and I said, well, gosh, if the current representative isn't doing anything, I will. And so I jumped in, and the response has been strongly positive, Jeff.
So there's going to be a lot of people out there who say, oh, Larry Liston now. He's not a real conservative. They're going to say the same things they said about me, because that's what people say when they want to try and win an election. Larry's a tax increaser. He's a this and that. You go ahead and talk about your record on these issues.
Well, first and foremost, you can look at my record, and I have a very strong conservative record, Jeff. My last year in the legislature, I had a 96% rating by the American Conservative Union. It doesn't get any better than that. People who know me and know my record from the local citizens to the people in Denver and elsewhere know that I'm a strong conservative. I'm a Barry Goldwater, Ronald Reagan conservative through and through. I've always voted that way. There's always been this canard about, just like you say, kind of the handlers of these candidates. They say, well, let's go out and say that the candidate, voted for a tax increase or is pro-choice or this or that. They just make this stuff up, and it's patently untrue.
Well, let's get to some of those. Are you pro-life?
I am absolutely pro-life.
Always have been?
Yes, and always have been.
And you have a voting record to prove it?
Yes, I do.
That's right. Second Amendment.
Oh, well, I'm a life member of the NRA. I'm on the board of the Pikes Peak Firearms Coalition.
You're a shooter?
I'm a shooter. I'm a gun owner, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not just a member of the NRA. I'm a proud member, and I'm a life member of the NRA.
Taxes. How about taxes?
I've always been for low taxes, and I've always been a proponent of smaller, leaner government. And for the record, just so people know, I was strongly against Ref C back in 2005, and I voted against it. And I even have the record here that you can examine and see.
Yes, I've seen that. By the way,
I've seen that, and in the legislative process, getting bills passed back and forth between, there's a real legislative process. And back in 2005, the Senate version of Ref C and the House version didn't agree, and bills have to agree on that. And so I voted yes, just for the conference committee report, which is not a vote for the bill. And literally about 30 seconds or a minute later, the final vote was, do you support the passage of what was called then Ref C, House Bill 1194? And I voted no.
Right.
And
that's been misrepresented.
That's been totally misrepresented. And in fact, I got a letter from no less than Grover Norquist, who is the head of Americans for Tax Reform, the ultimate.
He's the gold standard.
The gold standard, exactly. And they agreed, and they said, no, Larry never ever voted for Ref C. And in fact, I not only voted against it the fall in 2005, it was a referendum. I was out there actively campaigning against it.
So what other – I know that there's folks out there that are making up these allegations and things like that. What do you have that what other issues are out there that you know of where they're misrepresenting what your issue is on certain matters?
To be honest with you, Jeff, I'm out on the campaign trail almost every day speaking to the voters, and I'm quite frankly, what I'm hearing from the voters is what they're really interested in is jobs and the economy, supporting our law enforcement professionals, some of the water issues. Quite frankly, the voters, and I've spoken to literally thousands of them already, their interest, those are their issues. These false issues that are being brought up, quite frankly, I really don't hear about them. And they certainly have every opportunity, particularly on the Second Amendment. People ask me about that all the time. I'm very strong on against illegal immigration, by the way. But let me tell you just what I am hearing from the voters is that they're interested in the economy, and I have a real record of solutions and accomplishments about getting jobs and helping our economy here locally. For instance, we're very fortunate that we have the University of Colorado Springs, in our district. It's not only in House District 16, but it's a real economic engine for the district and the community and the county. And I have always been a strong proponent of helping our university here, and people respond to that because they know it's a real economic driver. Most people don't know, Jeff, that UCCS over the last 4 or 5 years and going forward is responsible for a minimum of $450 million of building activity, which is huge for our economy.
So on these issues, and by the way, I guess I want to go back and point out, Janik Joshi was a supporter of mine when I ran for Congress. Mm-hmm. I don't think he walked the precincts that Larry Liston walked and things. You were a great supporter of mine. But it's difficult for me to support someone who won't even come on my show to talk about these issues. And I guess, I give this show, this is airtime that people ask me for oftentimes. In fact, Dr. Joshi in the past has asked to come on my show, then when I offer time to come on and be either opposite you or either before or after you or whatever by the flip of a coin, he doesn't want to do that because we would obviously work with him and do whatever we could to help him fit his schedule. So why should, I guess people would say, well, we've already got a representative. Why should we vote for Larry Liston? Why are you going to be a better representative than the one that we have?
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you exactly why. Because I am of the people, with the people, and out with the people. Granted, we are both conservatives, but there's a difference between just hitting the no button and going out there and being a constructive legislator and getting things done for our district and our community. I am a competent legislator. I know how to get things done. I have a real record of solutions and ideas and working with our community leaders, particularly working with the officials of UCCS. They know me. They trust me. People trust me. I'm a leader. I was the chairman of the business committee for 2 years. I was the ranking member for 4 years. I have always been supported by and endorsed by the Colorado Springs, what's now the Colorado Springs Regional Business Alliance. I was Legislator of the Year in 2010 by the Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce. So there's a difference between going up to Denver and just sitting there and hitting, the buttons that people tell you to hit versus going up there and having solutions and ideas and accomplishments and getting things done for the people. Talking about the frustrations. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times on the campaign trail. The people are frustrated, they're pissed off and upset at the lack of what our federal and state people get done up there. And so I go up there and I have real results and real solutions and real ideas. And I go out and I see the people, and they appreciate that. I could give you story after story. Just yesterday, I met a family right on Winston Road, and I had about a 15-minute conversation with them. I can't tell you how they appreciated having a candidate come and spend some time with them, and I do that every single day. That is why I will be a good legislator for the people of House District 16.
So your argument is that it's not so much conservative versus moderate or whatever. You're both conservatives. You're going to do a better job of collaboration with the community, on whether it's UCCS or the broader community.
Our city council, we have real issues here in our local community, and I have conversations with the local elected officials at the city council level that they want and they need people that are going to go up there and advocate for our community. That is why our good mayor John Suthers has strongly endorsed me. Sheriff Bill Elder has strongly endorsed me because he knows my law enforcement background and record. Merv Bennett, the president of the city council, has strongly endorsed me. These community leaders and many others, they know my body of work, and those are some of the people that have encouraged me to come back and go back and represent the good people of House District 16. I just didn't wake up blind one day back in October and say, geez, I think I'll run. These people were dripping on me all the time. Larry, you ought to go back, and you ought to, we appreciated working with you, and particularly the citizens. I had over 1,800 people, Jeff, sign my petition. I know you've been talking about the caucus and all that. I respect the caucus process, but I wanted to go out and see the real people, and I was out 43 days in a row over February and March seeing the voters and to have them sign my petition. That is real grassroots, and when they signed that petition, they knew what I was all about.
Well, so what are some of the issues? Let's talk about some of the local issues. We've talked about some of the political issues, but let's talk about some of the local issues that do need to be addressed, do need to be fixed. I mean, UCCS is if you think back just 8 or 10 years ago, what it looked like versus what it looks like now, and that's, of course, in House District 16. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is an amazing facility.
Yes,
it's fascinating what's happened out there, and the growth is incredible. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And when I was in the legislature, Jeff, I played a role, and I don't take full credit because nobody does it by themselves. But, here we have a very good school of engineering, and I played a role to help the university secure the funding, both public and private, for the School of Engineering. Let me tell you about something else that I've been working with some of the university officials up at UCCS, which kind of dovetails into about law enforcement. Our law enforcement people and first responders in general are really under assault by different factions and so forth, and they're very highly competent, trained people. We have a great opportunity to partner with UCCS of having a law enforcement training institute up at the University of Colorado Springs. They have a school of criminal justice. They have the staff and the facilities. Right now, if our law enforcement officers, which they want to go for higher advanced training, they all have to go out of state back to Boston, the FBI Academy, and so forth. And there are people here that want to set up a law enforcement training institute that will help train law enforcement people from all over the western United States. It's a real boon for UCCS, for our community, and it dovetails perfectly to have highly trained, competent law enforcement professionals. It's a win-win-win situation. And so I've been working with some people up at UCCS, but they just need somebody that's going to go up there and take the mantle and run with the ball. I will do that.
Larry Liston is our guest. He's a candidate for House District 16. And so there will be some people who will say, Larry Liston was the representative here. Janik Joshi is the incumbent right now. And, why not just wait? Why not just wait a couple of years and then Larry Liston can run if he wants to run? Your answer to that. And I don't subscribe to that, by the way. I believe we have elections for a reason.
Sure. So, well, with all due respect, my opponent has had 6 years to do something, and his record is of getting things accomplished is, well, I'll just say let the voters check it out. Or I have a real record of solutions and accomplishments. I did things, and it's to me, and what I've heard from the constituents is that they want to have representatives, whether it's their representative or their senator or even their council people, that they feel that they're in touch with. Jeff, what I've also found out that when I was out, which I have been seeing and visiting with the voters, there are entire square miles of the district where they've never met their representative, and I find that unconscionable. When I was in the state house, people always knew me. In fact, when I would come to the door, sometimes before I could get to the door, people would say, "Hi, Larry." I mean, so it's more than just going up to Denver, and this is true for any elected official, and just pontificating and saying I'm the most conservative person. People want representation that's effective, accountable, and accessible, and I am that person.
And I want to remind the listeners, if you're just joining us, Larry Liston is candidate for House District 16. His opponent, the incumbent, Janik Joshi, was offered time on the show, equal time on the show, wanted to do either a candidate forum, a debate, or even offer separate time when they could come on, and he declined to do that. And so it's difficult for me when I do these sorts of things. I mean, obviously, we always try and offer time. And, one thing that I hold very jealously, and Ashley knows this, but I am fair to people. When they come on, I give them an opportunity. I may totally disagree with a person, even somebody who's a total liberal. I give them the opportunity to say what they want to say and be respectful of their thoughts. And that's one thing I'm known for, and I will always be known for that. And so it does bother me when I offer time to come on to this show and give, which airtime on KVOR is valuable. It's an opportunity for people to get out and talk to an awful lot of people. And your opponent, Janik Joshi, refused to come on. And because of that, and as I said, he didn't want to come on because his campaign manager, I guess, told him that I had already endorsed you, and I had not endorsed you.
No.
But I am announcing right now that I am endorsing you, Larry Liston, for
thank you, Jeff.
House District 16. And I'm doing that because you are willing to come on to this show. because you're willing to, whether we agree or disagree on things, you're willing to come on and have that discussion with the community. So please feel free to use my name in any way you
thank you, Jeff.
want
and that really comes with the territory of a candidate, of a conscientious, accessible candidate. I keep saying accessible, and that's true. Is that you've got to be willing, good, bad, or indifferent, to go out there and subject yourself to the questions and everything that any candidate should go through. That's why I go to the people. I don't just run a campaign where we send out a mail piece and so forth. Right. I want to meet the voters. I think that's part of the job. In fact, I know that's part of the job.
Right.
So, if I could just leave the voters with one thought, is I have a real bond with the people of House District 16. I've personally walked in all 28 precincts. I've met thousands of voters. I've listened to their concerns and their frustrations. The people know me. They trust me. And I respectfully, for the good people out there, I would be honored to represent you again in House District 16.
All right, Larry Liston, candidate for House District 16. You have my support.
Thank you,
We'll
Jeff.
be back next week on The Jeff Crank Show.